Today, I have David Konigsberg on the show. He is a brand strategist and CEO of Optimal Targeting and BrandHero. Welcome, David, to the show. So nice to have you here.
Thank you so much for having me.
Of course. So the reason why I wanted to have you on is because we got into a super brief discussion about your archetype approach for branding and marketing. And it was super intriguing to me. And I wanted to talk about that. But then as we were talking before we started recording now, you mentioned to me that you have two businesses, one focus on marketing, one focus on branding. And this was so fascinating to me because all I'm hearing is you're in two places at once. So I want to dive into that first, and then we'll talk about your archetype approach because I'm really interested in that. Let's go back. Why did you choose branding? How did you fall into this world of branding and marketing?
So amazing. So I started out, I guess, 20 years ago doing Google paid ads. And then so our clients were like, we need someone we could trust to do SEO as well. So I said, okay, what is SEO? And I learned it a little bit and I said, okay, it doesn't seem so hard. And we started doing SEO and our clients were so happy. And that SEO kind of changed. So SEO became less manipulative and more real. So we moved to content marketing, infographics, viral content, social media, all the stuff SEO ended up becoming. And we ended up with a full-scale digital marketing agency, helping our clients, get more business online. Most of them were Jewish from businesses, but they were targeting the non-Jewish world. And I remember, must have been 5 years ago, I had a client who came to us and he said, okay, I want you to do influencer marketing for us. And we were doing influencer marketing as part of a digital marketing strategy. And I said, okay, so we're going to get Kim Kardashian. She's going to talk about your brand. You're an Amazon business. They're going to send all the traffic to Amazon. What's going to make them buy your product and not the other 7 that are on the screen for cheaper with better reviews?
Right.
They said, I don't know. So I said, go to a marketing agency, go to a branding agency. And they went to one and they spent $100,000. And they came back, and I remember taking the packaging. It was gorgeous, and we opened it up, and I said the outside imagery of it was amazing, and it told a great story. But the inside, the product had no connection to the story. So I said, it's the same product that you could get from China that all your competitors have. You just put it into a better box. Is that your strategy? They said, no, we're a brand and we stand for something. I said, well, I'm missing something. So I said, what is branding? And I ended up reading about, I don't know, 50 books on branding. And I said, yeah, that wasn't branding.
Yeah.
And I discovered that branding was something different. And then we started helping out, clients, guide them through the process. And then what we realized is that there's a distinction between product branding and service branding. So
Yes.
Product branding, somebody should have thought, should I make this product? Is there a need? Who am I making it for? And they decided what they are. And you're kind of stuck. So any company that markets it, you have to make do with what there is. And it doesn't really matter so much. The history, you can make it into whatever you want. But services is a whole different animal, especially if there's partners where there's something that's being created every day. Mm-hmm. And it's tied to their strengths and their identity of who they are and who the partners are and how it all comes together. And if they don't have clarity, everyone's rowing the boat in different directions and they're changing every day. And the salespeople are selling what they are and they have no brand to the point where it could really hurt you. And I discovered that there's a big gap in that market. So we created a branding agency to help services actually become something that they could stand by, have all their employees rowing the boat in the same direction, and then differentiate themselves by it. And our first client was B&B Party Rental. And then he was our existing client that we were doing digital marketing for. And he came to us and he said, I'm annoyed. There's a bunch of small guys who just opened up. They have one truck. And I've been around for a long time and I'm much bigger than them, but the world sees me as the same. So they have a perception problem. They had a positioning problem. So I said, okay, let us solve that. And what we did is we created a marketing campaign. We rebranded everything and we wrapped their trucks, but we put a message on it that said, we're one of 10 trucks in our party fleet. And then we put ads showing that we have 50 styles of tables. And we were showing that we're the big guy with all of this capability and availability. And the small guys, we question if they have it. So in positioning wise, people will look at it and be like, wait, these guys have 10 trucks. Who's could service me better? The guy who has one truck or the guy who has 10 trucks? What if there's, a lot of things happening that day? And for him, it did wonders. His business went up and overnight people were saying to him, when did you get all these trucks? He's like, I've had them for years, but they never saw them and never recognized with it, and the messaging resonates. So that really inspired me to go all in. And I said, well, if I'm doing it, I can't be called optimal targeting, because people really only have room in their head for one brand. You're only good at one thing, right? So maybe they could see different strengths, but they want a specialist. They can't imagine a branding company being the same as a digital marketing. It's kind of like two different brains in people's minds. So we split it and we gave it two different names. Internally, we're in the same office. We're run similarly. It's a little bit siloed, but from the world, they could understand now that we're good at it and we could charge expensive pricing because we have a brand dedicated to it.
Amazing. There's so much of what you said that resonated with me so much as a fellow brand strategist. I really do see that people forget, like they're so focused on, I'm the best, I'm the greatest. Why is no one seeing that? And they miss that piece that positioning is so important, and finding that spot that you fit in that makes you so unique, where people truly need you, and finding where that need is such an important step that I see so many businesses miss. So, wow, that's amazing how you built that out of a marketing agency. And now, what does your day-to-day look like? So you're branding and you're marketing. How are you splitting yourself between two agencies?
Right. So I read a great book called E-Myth. I'm sure you're familiar with it.
Sure.
And the after I read the book, I made a decision. I'm not going to do any work anymore. And so what I did is I just delegated everything except for sales.
Nice.
So all I do is sales, and I became a strategist to guide people on what the correct way is to get an ROI, because I'm still from that world of ROI.
Yeah.
I grew up doing that. So when I do branding, it has to have an ROI connected to it. So I create a strategy to help people. How are you going to make money from this? I don't care if people are going to like it. I don't care if your aunt or your uncle. And I ran into problems like when we made a logo. People would be like, "Oh, my niece who took a design course one day doesn't like it." And I said, I can't do this. I said, I need a universal language we could all talk, and I need to be able to go in steps. So I said, what is there? And I dove into it, and I found something called an archetype. I said, great, perfect. So we're going to create an archetype. We're going to be the rebel. So did the logo give over rebel or not? And if they say yes, then great. So I don't want to hear about your aunt or your uncle. It achieved what we were wanting to do. And then working with more people, I realized one archetype doesn't do it, because there's more than one strength. And then, I dove into a little bit of the psychology side of winning formulas and past, present, and future, and some other systems. And I came up with my own system that I'm going to use 3 archetypes: one for the motivation of the brand, one for the process of the brand, their go-to way of solving any problem, and then the way they want to be perceived. So we create 3 different archetypes, one for each one. We tie it to a brand ladder where we show a strength born from that pattern of behavior, right, which is an archetype. And I'll go into that a little bit more in a second. Yeah. And then we tie that into who the target market is. And what we do differently than most branding agencies, I don't look at the market and then become that. I look at who they are and I find clients for them. If there's no clients, they shouldn't be in business. Yeah. You can't be something that you're not. Right. So I learned that the hard way. But most branding agencies take the other approach. They look at the market, they find a void, and they try to make you into that. But if you're a service company, you can't be that. There's 100%. A big disconnect.
100%. We're in the service world. We know that's true. We're living proof that that's true.
Yeah.
So can you dive into these archetypes for me and break it down for me? And I also want to know how this is effectively helping your clients communicate.
Yeah. So an archetype is really a repeatable pattern. So we all have repeatable patterns of behavior. So the best way to put it is when you were 6 and you saw the kid in the class get the teacher's attention, and she was the smart one. She always knew the answer. Something inside of you said, oh, if I'm smart, I get attention. Or if I'm smart, I get accepted. Or if I'm popular and I'm good with people, I get accepted. Whatever it is for you that happened. And then we look for things in our environment to support these patterns, right? Because once we choose the path, we want to be right. So we look for evidence of it. And then that helps us create our personalities, right? That's how personalities are created. And it's the same thing with the brand, right? If I work with clients and they love the fact that I took the time to really explain it to them, I got a rewarding behavior from it, I will try to do that more. And as you do it more and more, it becomes part of who you are as a brand. And then you could set expectations based on it. You can take responsibility for that. And you could actually do marketing and advertising based on it, because now you have something unique, even if you're in a commodity that other people don't do and you do repeatedly. And I discovered there are 3 things like that. And there's a list of 12 archetypes. You could just Google brand archetypes, or you could put it onto screen. And they are the caregiver. And what these are is really are things that we all know. We don't have to explain. We were brought up with, and they're in the universal language of people. We all know what it is. We know what a mother is. We know what a nurse is. We know what these things are. So the 12 ones that the brands have adopted from Young psychology, there's really like 75, but the 12 that the brands use are the caregiver, the explorer, the hero, the lover, the ruler. There's a 12 of them. And what we do is we help try to resonate with the client to figure out which one they are, and then we put it into the stack of what it is. Is it an underpinning of a motivation that nobody really sees? Is it your go-to way of solving problems? Or is it the way you want the world to actually see you and the way you deal with people? And by giving them that, they're able to explain and narrow down what their brand they're trying to create is. And most business owners have this, and they know it. And they always tell me, I paid you to do this. I knew this already. I said, yes, but the world didn't know it, and you didn't know how to say it, and your employees didn't know it. So what I get is, after a branding session, people are like blown away, and they're like, I finally feel like someone understands me. So now that you understand you, I could bring you a strategy of how to bring that to market. I could do a marketing campaign educating the world, because I could set those expectations that you take responsibility for. I could even put in a promise and a guarantee into it. And what we do is, by having that universal language, I go back to my designers and I say, design me a logo that has these brand archetypes in it, in these steps, and they know what to create. Because it's not, I once tried to hire a designer, and she was like, yeah, we bring in butterflies and a little bit of unicorn. And I'm like, I don't know what you're saying. I'm not a designer. I personally am not a designer, and I'm not a writer. So I come from a business owner's perspective, of more of a strategist. And I said, I need a language that I understand, that you understand, and the business owner can understand. And that's what archetypes are, because people could wrap their head. I get it. I'm a caregiver. I know what that means. You don't have to explain it. A hero. I know what a hero is, right? I know what a rebel is. I know what these things are. So you're saying that I'm a rebel in this way, and then we go through tangible things that you're actually doing that others aren't doing because you invested in there. And I go through examples. Customer support, is it in India or is it here? Why? And then you say, oh, it's because you want to make the connection, or you want to care for people, right? There's always a trade-off of, if I do this, then I'm not doing that. And I help them prioritize and show them their priorities, so that when they're doing a brand, the world can understand what you are and what your flavor is. And that's why we take competitors for branding, but we don't for digital marketing, because
so interesting.
I'm just trying to bring out what you are. And I got really good at listening to understand what they are, and be able to then explain it to them in a way that they understand it. And it's like therapy for people.
For sure. It's so funny. You're talking about archetypes, and I call it impactfluence. I help people find their impactfluence. What is that super impactful, unique thing that just helps businesses connect with their audience and people? And like, how do they take themselves and put themselves out there? And I'm also a designer, so my approach is more visual. So we take these feelings and emotions and what we want customers to feel from the brand, and then we do a visual mood board where we help the client see who they are in a visual sense. You really come from this strategy background, and I come from this design background. And it's so interesting how we each have this way of communicating with our clients to help them find their unique strengths so that they can stand out from the competition. I'm totally fascinated by this. And I agree with you. It's so much easier to work with brands in the same industry because everyone's got their unique thing. I see clients that struggle with me working with competitive brands or, crossover industries because they haven't found their uniqueness yet. And that's what we're trying to get to. So the ones that haven't found it are scared of the competition, but the ones who find it know they stand out and they shine because of that uniqueness. So super fascinating.
Right. Which is why I started the personality. Because if I could show them that they have a unique personality, even if they haven't developed it, I could show them a path where they could go. Right.
So interesting. And the personality is very visual in my process. So I'm really enjoying hearing how you do this. Now you work in marketing. So let's switch over to the marketing side of things. What means of advertising do your clients typically use? Are they on social media, print ads? Like what are people using, or does it depend on the business? Like what are you seeing is working?
So it depends on the business, but the most popular channels that we tend to dive into are social media and influencer marketing, Google paid ads, and even social media ads. because that's something that gives you immediate success and it's trackable and you have a clear ROI. So I know that they're paying $40 per lead, they're paying $20 to acquire a client, their lifetime value from the client is $5,000. I can make a simple math strategy showing them that you're making money, trust me, spend more money. Print ads, we're very unique in that way where I will do print ads, but not just to make attention. I wanted to have a strategy. I wanted to have an offer that they could see success, or I want to know that we're defending a territory, or I want to know that you have distribution and the job of the print ads are just to get attention so that when you have distribution and you're on the shelf and you have a choice between this one and this one, you need a nudge to go there. You don't need a differentiator, you just need a nudge. So if I have a strategy that I could explain to the client, that the client understands why they're spending the money and how it's going to work, then we take that approach. I'm very big believer on the client has to understand their marketing, what they're doing, and feel comfortable with the strategy. And it has to be like it's there. I'm just guiding them and coaching them and helping them facilitate it, but they really have to get it because otherwise it doesn't work. Like I had a client who loses money every time they get a sale on Google, and the previous agency ran the same exact campaign and they did the same thing. The only difference is I explained to them, you want to lose money because on the second, third, fourth, fifth sale, you make the money. And I showed them the money. So they said, yeah, our lifetime value is $5,000 per client over 5 years. And it only cost us $40 to acquire the customer, even if they're buying a $20 item to come in. And the previous agency said, oh, you're losing money. I don't know what to do. So that's where strategy changes things.
Absolutely. Yeah. How do you see an ROI on branding? Like marketing, it's easy to get those stats, but when you're working with a branding client and let's say you've designed a logo, full branding package, how do you prove the ROI on that?
So the first step is the client has to be involved in the decision, meaning to say, I have to explain to them that this is an investment and this is our, our this is our reason why we think it's actually going to work. And if he understands it, then they're willing to take the risk because they're like, oh, listen, we understand that I need to differentiate you from all your competitors. If you have an offer, like we just did this week, we did two ads. One was for a water delivery company, and he gave away 8 free cases. You don't have to subscribe to anything. Just give us your credit card on file. Give us your text message, right? We have your phone number, and we'll send you 8 free cases 3 times. And then you have our number. You can always just text us if you want more. It's an offer that's so good that anyone could. How do you say no to that?
Right.
There's no catch. There's nothing to it. So we just did a campaign and people are grabbing it and the client's happy giving away things for free. They're thrilled because they were working with a different marketing company with the same thing, but the offer was written in a way that people felt like they were buying something and nobody called. And now he's like, I just got 10 calls in the past hour. I'm thrilled. I'm like, let me understand something. You're thrilled that you're giving away something and you're losing money. He says, yes, because I understand how it's going to make money over the long term, right? And the next one was a car mechanic. He's giving away $100 for a year, unlimited oil changes, so 2 oil changes, plus wiper changing, plus tire rotation, plus $50 towards the business. And it's like the offer is so good that everyone's going to take it, especially in this economy. But there's a strategy of how you make money from it. Whereas the previous marketing and advertising we did, and we ran it, it was showing differentiation. It didn't work in this economy. So I said, we need to pivot. We need to change. Let's change it to a better offer. So working with the clients to create something that makes sense for them and pivot and change and do A/B testing to figure out how to make it work. I find something that people don't do because they don't even look at when they make an ad. They don't even look what it did. They just say, goodbye, next. So we're involved and say, okay, that didn't work. Let's tweak it. Let's change it because I need to find you ROI.
Yeah.
And people appreciate having somebody on their journey with them that's going to actually care if their ad was successful or not.
I also find that people are so afraid to even test. I'm always encouraging testing. Change your messaging if it's not working. Try it. See what happens. Are people resonating with it? People forget that you actually have this magic ability now with social media to reach an audience, get their feedback so quickly and see if it's working. I want to just ask you a couple of questions about influencer marketing. How are you reaching these influencers and how do you know how to find the right influencer for these brands?
So good question. So we manually reach out to them from the client's account and we approach them with an offer and we negotiate with them to figure out what's going to make the most sense. But it's a lot of testing and a lot of figuring out, we know this lady's good at this and we know this lady's good at that. And we understand that this is going to be like that. Let's start off. And there's a strategy that you have to do with it. In other words, you can't come to the market thinking that you're going to get the top person. You got to get the lower people. you show them success. Then you go to the higher up and you show them. And then by the time you're doing that, you have people coming to you already and you build it up. And we did it with a couple of different brands, and the products were so good that we had people coming to us and being like, I see what you did for them. We want to work with you also. So sometimes it's about showing them that. And when you asked earlier about the branding,
Yeah.
I find that if you put out a good brand message, you'll see it in the reviews.
Yes.
Like we had a client, Mint Capital. We did branding for them, and I showed them. If you go look now in their reviews, it says all I needed to do was sign, and they took care of the rest. So interesting. Everyone uses that terminology, right? Why? Because we fed it to you, and it
Right.
was true. So we set an expectation, we fulfilled it, and then you referred based on it because you appreciated what we did. If we never would have set it up, you wouldn't even know what to say because you wouldn't have recognized the strength. It was you only worked with them one time, but if I primed you for it, then you saw it more, right? It's always like that. If someone hyped up a store and you went into it and you tried the pizza or whatever it was, you're going to be like, wow, you're right. It was the best pizza in the world. But if you tried it, you're like, maybe I just got a good slice.
Right. So true. These were such amazing points. And I really, I appreciate the strategy aspect to how you work with customers, how you prove that ROI, and how you test in order to help clients get the results that they're looking for. David, where can people find you and learn more about you and get more of your wisdom and see your work? Your work's fascinating. It's really fabulous. I follow you on LinkedIn. Your work is really, really amazing. It speaks for itself. So where can people enjoy that?
So I put a lot of stuff on LinkedIn. I do a lot of videos there as well. So you can find me on LinkedIn, David Konigsberg, or you could email me at david@optimaltargeting.com. And I'm pretty available, pretty open. WhatsApp, my cell phone number, 732-948-0130. I find that with clients, it goes a long way to take down the barriers. I see a lot of copywriters and people like to put up as many walls as you can. I was in Pandora yesterday with my daughter. They said, you can't come in because there's people inside and we want to take your name. You have to wait. So we waited 5 minutes. I said, I'm gone. And I walked away. And they lost the customer. I was about to buy my daughter something. If you put up too many barriers, people there's other people that will be more accommodating, and it comes down to personality. Not everybody wants to work with somebody that's such a ruler, that's so organized and efficient. People want to feel that you care. And if you put up the walls, they don't feel that.
100%. I really like that you ended with that note. I'm a huge fan of being there for my people, being able to feel accessible because, ultimately we're here to serve and help. And I really get that from you. David, thank you so much for being here today. I really appreciate it.